Love it or hate it, Ripple has always been at the center of the conversation. It's not chasing hype, it's building infrastructure. The SEC case, done. Banks, on board. The tech, more refined than ever. While others make noise, Ripple moves in silence and at scale. So if you wrote it off after 2017, you might be missing what could be the biggest comeback in crypto. Hey everyone, welcome back to Captain Altcoin. Today, I want to talk about why Ripple and its crypto XRP might be ready for something big in the coming years. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through how 2025 changed the game, what Ripple is doing globally, some thoughts on where XRP's price might go by 2030, and where I see Ripple 5 years from now. So, let's go. To understand why Ripple is set for big things, we need to briefly recap the SEC case. Back in December 2020, the SEC sued Ripple and claimed XRP was an unregistered security. Years of legal battles followed. But in mid-2023, Judge Analisa Torres ruled that selling XRP on public exchanges to retail investors wasn't a securities sale. In 2025, the case finally came to a close. Ripple's CEO publicly confirmed the SEC had dropped its appeal, and afterwards, a settlement was reached as the regulator returned $75 million and vacated previous court restrictions. The years-long cloud was gone. Ripple could now shift to full-scale growth. Ripple itself has a lot of customers globally. Not just random exchanges, but actual banks and money service businesses that use RippleNet for cross-border payments. They have offices in San Francisco, New York, London, Singapore, Sao Paulo, Dubai, you name it. In fact, the official RippleNet materials say they have hundreds of customers around the world. Many of those relationships were quietly growing even during the legal fight. Now, I expect all that momentum to accelerate. For example, Ripple announced it bought a controlling stake in Hidden Road Capital, a global crypto prime broker. This is huge. It means Ripple now owns a full-stack trading and custody firm, and Hidden Road plans to migrate its operations to the XRP ledger and start using Ripple's new USD stablecoin as collateral. New SEC leadership has also signaled a friendlier United States stance on crypto. Ripple's CEO has even said it's time to make United States the crypto capital of the world. Now, let's talk about what Ripple's actually doing out in the world. One of their core strategies is building new payment corridors and partnerships. You might have heard about on-demand liquidity. That's the service that lets RippleNet customers use XRP as a bridge currency for fast remittance. Ripple has been expanding those corridors steadily. Take Asia, for example. In 2021, Ripple connected Japan to the Philippines through SBI Remit, Japan's big money transfer operator, and Coins.ph, a Filipino digital wallet that allows Filipinos in Japan to send pesos home almost instantly using XRP. In Southeast Asia, Thailand's Siam Commercial Bank was an early adopter. SCB uses RippleNet technology to move money across 12 plus countries, and the big step will be flipping on XRP liquidity in their corridors, which they've been preparing for. There are also partnerships in Latin America. For example, in late 2024, they announced a partnership with Mercado Bitcoin, Brazil's biggest crypto exchange. So Ripple has footprints in Asia and Pacific, Latin America, and even Europe via banks. On top of all that, Ripple continues alliances with payment providers. They announced a deal with Chipper Cash, a major African fintech, to integrate Ripple payments into Chipper's cross-border remittance platform. So overall, Ripple's global strategy is clear. Establish new payment lanes wherever remittance demand is high. Integrate with forward-looking banks and fintechs, and even help countries build digital currencies. Now, let's switch gears and talk about tech. The XRP ledger has always been fast and low cost. But over the last year, Ripple and the community have been rolling out major upgrades to make it more powerful. Ripple's goal is that built-in AMM combined with XRP and stablecoins gives financial institutions a regulated way to trade digital assets with each other on the ledger itself. Speaking of stablecoins, Ripple has been promoting its own RLUSD. Ripple plans to use it in RippleNet payment flows. Ripple's CEO has said RLUSD is built for compliance-first institutions. It gives enterprises a regulated alternative to USDC or USDT. In parallel, Ripple is launching an EVM sidechain. In late March 2025, the XRPL sidechain for the Ethereum virtual machine went live on testnet. This means Ethereum-style apps and contracts can run on a blockchain pegged to XRP ledger. It's a big deal. Developers can bring DeFi protocols or other dApps to the XRPL ecosystem with Ethereum tooling. This means XRPL is becoming a multi-chain platform. So, the tech is aligning with the business push. Ripple wants banks to use this for real money flows, and they've packing it with the necessary tools. Of course, one big question on everyone's mind is, what does this mean for the XRP's price? I have to be honest, it's impossible to predict exactly where any crypto will be years from now. But let's talk about the ballpark. Given what we've seen in adoption and tech, plus general crypto market cycles, a grounded guess is that XRP could be worth several times today's price by the late 2020s. XRP is around $2 at the time of shooting this video. In a bullish scenario, imagine Ripple's partnerships pay off. A crypto bull market kicks in and maybe an ETF is approved. It's not crazy to see XRP reaching double digits by 2030. For perspective, price forecasting sites vary a lot. Changelly's analysis predicts XRP averaging about $20 in 2030. Realistically, I'd say a doubling or tripling from current levels by 2026 to 2027 might be plausible if crypto markets heat up. By 2030, XRP in the $10 to $30 range could happen if institutions really start using it. I lean optimistic given the macro trends and Ripple's moves. So, where will Ripple actually be 5 years from now? I expect Ripple to be a major global payments infrastructure by 2030. Its blockchain network already spans 55 plus countries over 6 continents, with payouts in 80 plus markets. And I'm sure it will be beyond that in a few years. Ripple's own reports show Ripple Payments has processed over $70 billion in volume to date. For context, the global cross-border payments industry is $212 billion today, projected at $321 billion by 2030. Even if Ripple captures a small slice, its transaction counts and volume could easily grow by orders of magnitude. By 2030, I'd expect RippleNet's annual transactions to be several times current levels, handling hundreds of millions of payments per year across its network. I also see continued corridor expansion worldwide. Recent deals show this vividly. Ripple has highlighted new banks in Asia and the Middle East, joining RippleNet, and I expect Latin America and Asia Pacific corridors to grow too. Example, transfers between Mexico, Asia and India, Africa. By 2030, Ripple will likely be active in almost every major remittance route and give banks and payment companies across the globe an easy way to connect to its network. I believe Ripple's new USD stablecoin will be another growth engine. RLUSD is already listed on major exchanges. In a few years, I expect banks and multinationals to use RLUSD for instant treasury and settlement tasks. For example, moving liquidity between companies or tokenizing dollar cash flows alongside XRP or on its own, since it is backed one-on-one by cash and bonds. Also, several central banks already use Ripple's CBDC platform. For example, the National Bank of Georgia piloted a digital lari with Ripple Stack a couple of years ago, and Montenegro's central bank ran a Ripple-based CBDC pilot too. So, I'd expect dozens more governments, especially in Asia Pacific, Middle East, North Africa, and Latin America, to run pilots or launch CBDCs on Ripple Stack. And on the enterprise side, Ripple is pivoting to big institutions. I expect these moves to drive strong enterprise adoption. By 2030, banks and asset firms will likely be using Ripple's technology not just for payments, but for tokenization, crypto liquidity, and post-trade services too. Financially, Ripple is already big. If Ripple earns even 5 to 10% of global cross-border transaction revenues, it could be hundreds of millions in revenue per year by 2030. I estimate Ripple in 2030 as a much larger fintech powerhouse. All in all, I think Ripple's revenues and valuation could be ready for their biggest years ever. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. We've got more content coming soon on XRP, Ripple, and everything happening in crypto, so stick around and I'll see you in the next one.